You've seen him before. 10-year-old sedan, back row of the lot, a scratch on the bumper nobody ever fixed. You clocked him in 2 seconds and moved on. Then Tyler pulls in next to him, leased SUV, rims catching the light, and you clocked him too, the opposite way. Today I'm going to show you what that costs. Not the SUV, the seeing. I call it the display cost, and it's the quiet tax draining your accounts right now, every single month, whether you have ever noticed it or not, and by the time most people catch it, they've already lost decades. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes I'm going to run the real numbers on both of these men, and one of them is about to look a lot smarter than his car ever let on. My name is Marcus, and this is the accounting. Not the kind your accountant does, the kind that tells you the truth about where your money actually goes, and why it feels like it disappears no matter how much of it comes in. I am not going to tell you to give up coffee or cut up your cards. This is not that kind of channel. This is the kind of channel that shows you exactly where the leak is and lets you decide what to do about it once you can actually see it. None of this is really your fault, by the way. You were handed a culture that measures a person's worth by what they are seen driving, seen wearing, seen posting, long before you ever earned your first paycheck. That pressure to look like you have already arrived is not a personal failing. It is the water everyone in this economy swims in, and it is the actual villain of everything I am about to walk you through. Most people think a job is a simple trade, your hours for their dollars. It is not that simple. What an employer is really buying is your compliance, and nothing manufactures compliance like a tall stack of bills sitting on your kitchen table every single month. The higher that stack gets, the less of a choice your job ever really is again. Walk into that job with a car payment that eats most of a paycheck and a mortgage stretched to the edge of what you can survive, and you have handed someone else the leash. You cannot say no to the meeting that ruins your Friday night. You cannot ask for the raise you actually deserve, because asking means risking the income that keeps the whole structure standing. You cannot walk out the door, because walking out the door means missing a payment. And missing a payment means losing the life you built specifically to look like you never would. I call this the compliance overhead, the real cost hiding underneath every dollar you spend trying to look like you already made it. Here is the part that stings. The raise you fought for last year, the one you finally got after months of proving yourself. Where did it actually go? For most people, it went straight into a bigger payment on a slightly nicer version of what they already had. The raise never touched their freedom. It just financed a better-looking cage. Even the promotion plays the same trick. More title, more hours, more expectation to look the part in the new role. And the extra income vanishes into exactly that before it ever gets the chance to buy back a single hour of your actual life. The company does not mind an employee who earns well and spends almost as fast as it lands. High income, no freedom, is exactly the kind of fuel the machine runs best on, and it is far easier to manage a person who needs the job than a person who merely wants it. There is a second cost hiding inside the display cost, and it has nothing to do with the size of the payment. The moment the world reads you as someone with money, the world starts trying to take some of it. Walk into a repair shop in the nicer car, and the estimate quietly goes up. Live in the more visible neighborhood, and the insurance premium follows you home. Show up successful at a family gathering, and suddenly you are the first name mentioned when someone needs a loan they will probably never pay back. Even the scams get smarter around visible money, targeting the people who advertise it rather than the people who quietly have it. None of this is written down anywhere. It is just how people behave once they decide you can afford it. You are not only paying to look successful, you are paying over and over for everyone else's assumption that you can. If any of this is already making you think about your own car payment, a like on this one helps more people run into it before they sign the next lease. Let's run the actual math, because a few minutes of feeling seen does not move your bank account, numbers do. Marcus and Tyler both take home somewhere around $100,000 a year. Tyler leases a $60,000 truck. Between the payment, the insurance, and the gas it drinks, he is out roughly $1,200 every month. Over 5 years, that is $72,000 gone, And at the end of it, he owns a truck worth maybe $25,000 and no momentum at all. Marcus drives a paid-off, completely forgettable sedan. His entire transportation cost is about $200 a month. He takes that $1,000 difference every single month and puts it into a plain index fund and leaves it alone. If he does that from age 25 to age 55, at an average return of 10%, that $1,000 a month becomes a little over $2 million. Read that back. $2 million is the real price of the truck, not the sticker, the one nobody shows you at the dealership. And Tyler does not stop at one truck. In 5 years, the lease is up, the new model is out, and he signs again. Because by now, the payment feels normal. It is just what a truck costs. Marcus never signs anything again. He keeps driving the same forgettable sedan for another decade, and somewhere around year 20, without a single dramatic decision, without ever feeling like anything happened, he quietly crosses into having more money sitting in that account than most people will ever be handed in a lifetime of paychecks. Nobody in that parking lot will ever know it happened. That is the whole design. Picture it from the other side for a second. You are 47 years old. Someone at work just leased the car you secretly wanted at 29. 10 years ago, that would have wrecked your whole week. Now you barely register it. Because you are not actually competing with him, you never were. You are running your own accounting, quietly, in the background, and the only scoreboard that matters is the one nobody else can see. If you are not subscribed yet, now is a good time, because the rest of this channel is just this same kind of math, applied to every decision that currently feels completely normal to you. So why is the boring sedan so hard to actually drive? A little over a century ago, an economist named Thorstein Veblen noticed something uncomfortable about people. We rarely buy things for what they do. We buy them for what they say about us. A watch that costs $50,000 tells time no better than one that costs $50. The other $49,950 is not paying for craftsmanship. It is paying for a signal sent out to people who, and this is the part nobody wants to hear, are far too busy managing their own signal to actually stop and notice yours. It is the same story with the handbag, the watch, the corner office nobody actually needed, the vacation photos posted before the trip is even half over. None of it is really about the object. It is about being seen holding the object, and the exhausting part is that everyone on the other end of that signal is broadcasting their own, which means the audience you are performing for is simply too distracted performing back at you to ever actually watch the show. Ask yourself honestly, can you even remember what car your closest friend drove 5 years ago? Probably not. Yet you can probably remember exactly what you paid for yours, every single month, for years. Here is what nobody tells you about looking ordinary. It protects you. If the mechanic assumes you are struggling, you get the honest quote instead of the padded one. If a contractor assumes you cannot afford to be taken advantage of, he stops trying. If a relative calls asking to borrow money, the version of you driving the paid-off sedan gets to say no without an argument, because nothing about your life is silently arguing yes on your behalf. Walk into a salary negotiation without a mountain of payments breathing down your neck, and you can actually say the number you deserve instead of the number you desperately need, and everyone on the other side of that table can feel the difference, even if they could never explain why. The friendships that survive your quiet years turn out to be the only ones that were ever real, because nobody was quietly performing for your money the whole time. It even changes how you show up for the people you actually love. You can help a sibling through a hard year, or cover something unexpected for your kids, quietly, without turning it into an announcement, because the money was never performing for an audience in the first place. There is a version of wealth that paints a target on your back, and there is a version that lets you walk through the world completely unbothered, unremarkable, and free to make every decision on your own terms, instead of the terms other people assume you can afford. I call the second one the quiet position, and honestly, it is the entire point of this channel. If you want us to run this exact accounting on a decision that looks more like yours, a car, a house, a job offer sitting in your inbox right now, drop it in the comments. We actually read them. So how do you get out? You do not need to live like this forever. You just need to be a little strange for about 2 years. Step 1. The identity shift. Stop thinking of yourself as a consumer and start thinking of yourself as an owner of capital. Your job is not your identity. It is a cash flow machine that funds your freedom. Nothing more, nothing less. Every purchase after that gets one simple question. Is this buying me an asset, or is it buying someone else a signal? Step 2. The downgrade. If you are carrying a payment that exists purely to be seen, get out from underneath it. Sell it, replace it with something reliable and completely forgettable. The ego hit lasts about 3 days. On the 4th day, when your account balance does not drop for the first time in years, it starts to feel like something better than new ever did. Most people who actually do this tell me the same thing afterward, that the hardest part was not the money, it was worrying what other people would think, right up until they realized almost nobody noticed at all. And this is not a life sentence. 2 focused years of this is usually enough to build a gap wide enough that it runs on its own after that, which is exactly why so few people ever try it, because 2 years feels long right up until you compare it to the other 40. Step 3. Protect the gap. Every raise, every bonus, every dollar you stop spending on display goes straight into what I call the gap discipline, the simple rule that your lifestyle is never allowed to rise every time your income does. This one rule alone, followed for 10 years, does more for your future than any stock pick or side hustle ever will. Step 4. Change how you keep score. Stop measuring yourself by your salary and start tracking 2 numbers instead. Your month count, how many months you could survive without a single paycheck landing, and your option count, the number of real decisions you could walk away and make today if you needed to. A new job, a new city, simply saying no. Salary is what other people see. The month count and the option count are what actually decide whether you are free. Write those 2 numbers down right now if you can, roughly, off the top of your head. Most people have never once calculated either. That single blank spot in your own accounting tells you almost everything about how much of your life is currently financed by someone else's assumptions. If any of this is landing right now, subscribing means the next one of these finds you before it disappears into the feed. New videos every week. None of this happens in a single dramatic afternoon. It happens in 100 small, boring decisions that nobody else ever sees you make, which is exactly why it works. The accounting does not care whether anyone noticed. It only cares whether the numbers actually moved. So think about him again, the man with the scratched bumper in the back row of the lot. He is not missing out on anything. He is running a completely different accounting than everyone silently judging him in that parking lot, and in 30 years, while Tyler is still making payments on whatever he happens to be driving by then, that man will be living on decades of freedom that were never for sale in the first place. Nobody is going to hand you a trophy for driving the forgettable car. Nobody claps for the quiet position. That is exactly why almost nobody chooses it, and exactly why the ones who do end up so far ahead of everyone, still waiting to be noticed. Success was never what you could afford to buy. It is what you no longer have to buy, because you already bought your time back first. If you are ready to stop paying the display cost every single month without ever knowing it, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.